that that's one of the things and I talked to a few different people, and this is sort of one of the things that we've came back to. And I think that some of those things is really about the beginnings of a culture being created, you know. And I think that when you look at New York, or when you look at Detroit, or when you look at Atlanta, or when you look at Los Angeles, they had music cultures that existed that were black-centric music cultures that existed before hip-hop existed. And so once hip-hop came along, some of these things had already been sorted out in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, to the point where you got somebody that multiple studios that existed, and this studio done existed for 40, 50 years. They didn't transition from recording multiple things. You know, you got multiple generations of people who have succeeded in the music industry, who maybe they not, you know, famous rappers, but they writers and producers and engineers, and they've stayed here locally doing these things, to the point where you can fall into this place where everybody don't, not only, because the thing that's true about this is that, like, the engineer, if the culture was wider and the culture was already built out, like, for example, I got my homie that's an engineer, my homie Skinny. If his son takes up engineering after him, his son will be more successful in engineering than anybody who has ever engineered, you know, in Rockford. Right. Because first it'll be multi-generational, and then he not starting from scratch when he's starting to engineer.
Right, because he have a network.
Exactly, he got a network that's there, and then he got all whatever his father done built. If his father do it for 30, 40 years, and maybe his father don't ever, you know, engineer a Grammy-winning album, but he engineered to be able to keep his life straight and get a nice studio, and now he got an extra place in the studio. He rented out to other people that's engineering, and you do that 3 or 4 times over for generations, which people done did with blues and with jazz. And by the time you get to like the 80s, 90s, when hip hop got big, they had this infrastructure that was there. Whereas the first layer of people that have like to start building infrastructure out here is like Blazo, you know, DJ Neil. DJ Neil, the only person from his generation that was recording and engineering music that has made it a lifestyle of continuing to record and engineer music. And you know, you're not finna go to Neil's and, you know, Neil not finna make you no bigger, you know, but the fact that you can go to Neil, you know, like, that's what done been set up. Same thing, like, Neil maybe not the biggest, most famous engineer in the world, but Neil done made it so that 10, 15 other people and the generation after him that maybe they wasn't his sons, but they children of Neil. Like, they was at Neil's studio learning to record, or somebody they know went to Neil's studio to record, and then that led them to record. It's at least 10, 15 people who engineer music because of Neil. And then a generation out from them, it's about another 15, 20, where now it's a bunch of people who record music. And I hear something and it'll sound good, and I think like, who you go to? They'll tell me somebody who I ain't never heard of before. Where it was a time where it was really like 6, 7 people really that was engineering, recording music if it was at a certain quality. And the same thing was for music videos, where and it's not as much of it coming out now, but it was a time, you know, where it was like 8, 9 people that was doing music videos, and videos was coming out from multiple artists, and you could see a tree that had developed from, whether it was from somebody not being able to afford J.O. or Arissa, or somebody going to J.O. or Arissa and then wanting to get a camera themselves, or doing something with Pierre, wanting to get a camera themselves and learning something from them. But like trees started coming and deviations started coming from different people sort of picking up these things. And, you know, when I look through it, I'm 34 years old, and I've been within the music scene for real, I would say for at least since 2012, 2013. You know, I was, besides just making my own music and rapping with my homies, I'm filming videos for people, doing photos for people, interacting with people, engaging with different people. And I can't say that every 5 years the scene has gotten bigger. You know, and I would say 5 years because it's not always year to year that it get bigger. You know, there's a few years where it's about the same.
It's kind of like a turning tide, or like what is it? I don't want to say a generation. I guess it's a generation because what is it? What is it? 4 years?
Yeah, 4 years is generational. Yep.
Yeah, 4 years in high school or some shit.
Yep. So each time another one of the set of the generations come, it get a little bit further and it go a little bit more. And one of the things that has happened too is that, you know, people have found different avenues to fit in, you know, and sometimes it's one of those things where you got to know. But like, if you know, like, Arissa did, turned up from shooting music videos and got a bunch of content and got engagement, and got a fan and got a community.
Hell
Same
yeah.
thing with JL. If you know Jay, if you knew that all the things that happen here in Rockford, then you know that he's somewhere doing stuff with Fred now. But like JL was doing videos and making videos with people. Same thing with Film or Die. Like Film or Die been making these videos and been creating these different things. And so that's a generation of people who've grown up watching, knowing that now if you're gonna make music, you can't just rap, you gotta have a music video too. Like in every city you go to, that's not a synonymous thing. But here it's been established, you gotta get a music video too. You gotta do these things too. And same thing with performances. Like one of the things Blazo's done, with Escape that I think is real special is that he's provided a platform for local artists to perform. Even when he was doing things, in Aragona and having some of the different hip hop things he was doing, one of the things that whether what anybody's opinion may be on their experience with it, one of the things that was good was that it was pushing the culture forward, because it was letting people know that if you're gonna do this, you can't just put out a song, you can't just put out a video, you gotta perform. You gotta be seen, you gotta hit the stage. And that's just the culture evolving and growing, and the fact that these avenues exist now, it's easier for whoever gonna be the person to punch through the door, whether it's this year, in 5 years, or in 10 years, or in 15 years, and they'll really be at the place that Chicago music was like 30, 50, 60, 70 years ago, when they had the first generation of people who was busting through some of these doors and busting through some of these windows. All the music that exists here.